Record. All right, here we go. Episode 10. I'm with Mareka Cole, and she's going to
America.
Merrick. Oh my gosh. I'm going to
It's
start.
like America without the A. America.
Okay, at least I can stop. At least I can edit that. So I'm going to start over again. All right, so it's been a long day. All right, here I am, episode 10 with Mareka Cole. She's going to talk about her sons Mario and Marie Cole. And
Merrick.
you know what? You know
Merrick
what?
and America.
Here's what I'm stuck with that. I have a Zarek, and they kept saying Zarik. And so I'm sitting there going, oh my God. So, and then I had a Malia that was Malia. And so, all
Oh,
right, here we go. I'm going to America, Merrick, and Mario. Okay. All
yes.
right. Forgive me. All right. Here we go. Episode 10. I'm with Merrick. I can't even do it again.
Now I messed you up.
Now we're going to have bloopers. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Episode 10. I'm with Mareka Cole, and she's going to talk about her son, Merrick, and Mario Cole. And she's going to talk about what she's been doing with her purpose since the passing of both her boys. But it's extremely different for this video that I want to say because even though I've lost both of my children, and when I remember when you first sent over your photos, and it was just of one boy, and then you said, "Can I add my other son?" And even though he didn't die of fentanyl, and I was like 100% because it's the same way. Losing a son, losing a child is just a catastrophe no matter how you lose a child. And so I will be honest, when I got to Jimenez Falls, you were one of the videos where when I saw the picture, it took me about 4 or 5 tries to read this because when you have multiple members of your family and it hits you, I'll be honest, it sucks. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
so before I bust it down crying, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you don't mind, just please introduce yourself and talk about your boys and then where you are from now. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. My name is Mareka Cole, and I live in Sacramento, California. And in 2014, well, I'll go back to the birth of my children. Um, I gave birth to 5 boys. Um, it's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy. And I did not want the last one to be a girl because it would be horrible for her if it was a her. So the last son that I had was Merrick, and the older boys were ecstatic. I think my oldest boy was like 14 going on 15 when he was born. Um, and they just got along with each other so well that I couldn't have asked for better boys. Their behaviors, the respect for us as parents. We tried to do what we could do for them. We didn't always have a lot of money, but we made sure that, if they wanted a go-kart, we're like, let's see what we can find in the newspaper because there wasn't Craigslist or anything back then. So raising 5 boys was a challenge, but they grew up working on cars, doing different things in life. My oldest son's he wanted to be an EMT. He ended up being in the Army. He's a sergeant first class now, so I'm really proud of him. But it wasn't always easy. They were daredevils. They wanted to, jump these big ramps and, fly over things that I'm like, just be careful. I had to close my eyes and remember they're boys. But one of the things that I did do, and I can tell you that I was a bit of a tomboy myself. I raced motorcycles. That's what I did at Sacramento Raceway, and I did that for fun. And when I raised my boys, I taught them how to ride at around 8 years old so that they would not get out there and go wild and be taught by a friend on how to ride a motorcycle and then get out there and get hurt. So we taught them on little dirt bikes and, they would rough and tumble, how to fall safely. I taught them the importance of riding gear and all that. So they grew up loving motorcycles and respecting the road, basically. They did get into drifting. That was a big phenomenon. out here in Sacramento. They got into drifting. They would modify perfectly new cars that they got and modify the engines to make them faster. That's what they loved to do. And I figured, okay, if they want to work on cars in front of the house, things could be worse. They could be getting into other things. So I let them do whatever their passion was. I embraced it. So as long as they weren't breaking the laws and doing things illegal and stuff like that, I supported it. My husband and I were like, what are we going to do? Say no? When we say no, then they're going to do it even worse. So we tried to be on board with them and support them, so that also it kept us in their circle so that we knew what they were up to. So that was our way of keeping track of our kids. In May of 2014, Mario, he got a manager position at Cisco Foods. He started in the freezer, well liked by everybody. Within a year, he was in management. But he loved riding his motorcycle there every day. He would just jump on the freeway. It saved him money on gas. And it was his A to B until it rained, and then he would drive his car. Well, one morning, and he's always early, he's always very punctual. If he says he's going to come over, he's going to come over. If he says 5 o'clock, 4:59, you see him. So he was on his way to work, and I remember it was a day that he said, "Hey, Cisco's having a sale. If you want to buy chicken or steak, it's for sale. Let me call you when I get to work." And I said, "That's great." So he goes to work, and it's early in the morning, and I'm sleeping, and the phone rings, and I thought it was him. And it was his work asking me if he had left for work. And I said, "I'm pretty sure, he's punctual, but let me check," because he lived 5 minutes away from me.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to get a hold of his girlfriend, and nobody answered. And I called back the number that was on my phone, and I said, "Well, I can't get a hold of his girlfriend." And they said, "Okay, we'll let you know when he gets here. Maybe he's running late." So they called me back within 10 minutes to let me know that there had been an accident to come to Riego Road. It's off of 99 in Riego. They were doing construction for that off ramp to make it better. And somebody, I guess an employee, said there was an accident on the way in, and that's when they went and backtracked and found out that he had gotten into this motorcycle accident. But nobody told me the status and just asked me to come out there. Well, when we got out there, CHP was out there. It was all blocked off. And I just remember them saying that, "I'm so sorry he didn't make it." But it was really weird, because I think that I was being protected from seeing the actual scene, because I couldn't see. It was like a bright light. I couldn't see where he was at. He was on the road, apparently, and I just never saw him. And so I saw the motorcycle, and I said, being a motorcycle rider, I said, "What happened here?" And the whole front of his bike was immaculate. It's like he didn't run into anything, and the whole back of it where he was sitting was obliterated. So I was trying to look in my phone and take a picture of it, but I couldn't see anything. So I asked my husband, "Can you take pictures, please, of the bike and the road and everything up the road?" And it's a good thing that I did do that, have him do that, because I'm to find out that one of the construction workers was on Vicodin, and he made a 3-point turn and backed over him. Backed over the back of his bike. when everyone was going stop, 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 he thought, let me get out the way, and he continued to go backwards, and that's what killed him. So we lost him um, May of 2014. It was devastating. It was devastating for our family, for my middle son. My middle son and him, they were in every single picture from the time they were, by the time Mario was born, they were in every single picture together. They were inseparable. And when this happened, my son described it as like the whole right side of me's gone, because we were joined at the hip, basically. People thought they were twins because my boys do look alike. They do. And when the two, when I put Mario and Marek's picture together, because they were both 25 at the time, they looked very much alike.
I knew that because I asked you, I was like, okay, they're twins. And then you're like, no, they were both just 25.
Yes, they were 8 years apart. And I will send you a picture where Mario was driving Marek to school, and you can see the age difference. Marek's got his little backpack on, and Mario's driving, so there is that age gap where they really did adore their brother. So that was devastating. And come to find out that driver was on Vicodin, and that driver, it's not the first time that he's gotten into a serious accident behind his substance use disorder. And so we had to do what we had to do to make it right. He crossed over the double yellow, and that he broke the law. So we pursued that, and fought for justice for Mario, because what happened to him shouldn't have happened. This should not have happened. And as devastating as it was, we, as a just their family, they acted a little weird. They didn't know what to say. It was just a crazy time in our life that we thought, geez, I would have never thought that I would have to bury my child. I never would have imagined, they're grown up, we get to see grandkids and stuff like that. Never happened. So it was a double devastation. Generations gone with the S, generations gone. So, we stuck together as a family. We supported each other. Anytime somebody was having a bad day or anything, we just talked about it. We talked about it, and we never forgot Mario. So it wasn't like we just didn't discuss him. That was the last thing on our mind. We wanted to make sure that we were okay, so that when other people brought him up in conversation, they're doing it out of love, not to harm you or hurt your feelings. So
I'm glad you say that because there's a lot of families that I've talked to that the siblings, it's like, I don't want to talk about them anymore. I don't want to talk about her anymore. Let's just not discuss it. So, I mean, it's actually good to hear that your family stuck together. And
yes, and making sure that we remember him, we remember his name, don't forget his voice, his goofy
right.
laugh, his crazy smile. He had a adorable smile. And let me tell you, I'll tell you, me as a mom, I would be outside and my kids will be in the front yard playing basketball, and all these girls will walk by. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They said, Mom, don't worry, this is like the 10th time they walk by, so we're used to that. And
Well, that must be nice of him to say that. Walking by 10 times, checking me out. He's a stud
they
then.
were worried about me because I would be like, will you get out of here already? So they didn't want me getting involved in none of that. So they just assured me that it's fine, Mom, we're good. but his voice, they wanted to remember his voice. And I said, well, we have to keep talking about him, because by not talking about him and blocking it off and closing that, what they call chapter, it's actually a disservice, because you don't want to forget your sibling. You don't want to forget your son. You don't want to forget, what he sounded like, his goofy laugh, and talk about it, because that way you'll remember, it's embedded in your
Yeah.
head. Their personality is stuck with you. So we always encourage that. You know what? They make great memories. My kids have made great memories. So fast forward, we were getting to a good point where, we were okay. We didn't have to go to the cemetery every day, because that's what we were doing. And we thought, for me, emotionally, I healed faster when I wasn't going every day. I wasn't sad every day. I wanted to try to get to what's called a new normal. Life is never going to be normal, but I have to get to a new normal. So we were getting there, and it was in the 8th year, 7th year. It just seems like, when we lose our kids, it seems like yesteryear. But
Yeah.
in our 7th year, we got to a point where we said, okay, let's just enjoy life. Let's do some of the things that we want to do, and just not hold back on being happy, just having happiness in our life. And then when we got to a new normal, and, happiness was part of our world, we lost Marek.
It was
And that happened the day after Thanksgiving, of all days, the day after Thanksgiving.
Merrick was
And
youngest, and
well, he's my youngest, yes.
Mario was your oldest.
No, Mario and Marek were my two youngest. They're the
Oh,
two
okay,
young.
okay, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yes. There's three more siblings that are older than the two. So when we lost Merrick the day after Thanksgiving, it was devastation. The day was normal. He wanted to go to his friends. It's the first day that he wanted me, in a long time, that he wanted me to comb his hair, because he didn't like his hair combed. Being on the spectrum, there's certain things that he didn't like, and one of them was, no, I'm letting my hair grow, and I don't want you to comb it. So I respected his wild hairdos. I respected what made him comfortable, because I knew he was on the spectrum, and he has to feel comfortable in his own skin. He asked me that day if he could go to his friends, and he goes, Mom, if you let me go to my friends, I'll let you comb my hair. So I said, okay, well, tell you what, when you come back from your friends, I'm going to go to the store and get you some stuff for your hair, so I could do your hair, and then I will get you some slides. He wanted some Jordans
Okay.
slides. So we have a Ross that's like 5 minutes away from us, and the little store that I went to. So me and his brother waited till he got back from his friends, because I never take off without him being home. I know he's home and he's okay and he's watching TV, and he never answers the door for anybody. So he just minds his own business when he's here. He goes to his friends and he comes back and he says, so are you going to get my hair stuff? Don't forget. And I said, oh, he's still talking about this. So he really wants to. And he said, don't forget my slides. And I said, okay. He goes, I'm going to go in my room and I'm going to watch cartoons. So he goes in his room. Me and his brother took off right away, because we want to hurry up, come back, because he'll call my phone, Mom, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? So I wanted to go, hurry up, get what I need, come back. And so we did that. We weren't gone probably 35 minutes. And his dad was here and he texted me the words, not a peep, which was unusual because he's always calling me. Like after 10 minutes, where's mom? Is mom here? I told my husband, just stay here with him, get on your computer and just wait until I come back. But he texted me not a peep because he is very concrete. My son, he's very consistent. We know when something's off. We know when he's in a bad mood. We just know because he's very concrete.
Right.
Um, my husband texted me that, and I said, well, he went to his friends. I'm right around the corner, so I'll be there. So just please wait. Don't wake him up if he's asleep because he'll be blowing up my phone. So I come in and I told my husband, I went, shh, go tell him that mom's home. He goes to the door and he knocks and there's no answer. And so I said, well, let me do it because he hears my voice and he'll just pop out of his room like, Mom, I'm so glad you're home. I knocked on the door and said, hey, I got your slides. No answer. So I said, something's wrong. Something's wrong. So I peeled open his passkey door lock with my fingernail, and he was not responsive. And I thought, I kept pushing him, and he said, and no response. But he was still alive. He was warm, still alive. And so I said to my husband and my son, let's get him on the floor. I got to do CPR. Call 911. Something's wrong. And so I started CPR immediately. And my son and husband, I don't even know where everybody was at. I was just hyperventilating and giving him CPR, calling out his name, screaming out his name, listen to me here, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And the EMTs came pretty quickly and they took over. They gave him an IV. So I know he was still alive, but they couldn't keep him alive. By the time I got to the hospital, I thought maybe he choked on something, maybe, a heart issue. He was 200 pounds. So the last thing I thought was that something happened to him with fentanyl. I didn't even know what fentanyl was. So I got to the hospital and they said, I'm sorry, we did everything we could, and he didn't make it. I felt like the earth swallowed me up again. I thought, what happened? And they said, we have to do autopsy and toxicology because we don't know. We suspected fentanyl, but he didn't respond to Narcan.
Did you even know what fentanyl was?
I think it had just started making it in the news. So when they mentioned it, I knew what it was. I knew what it was. And there was somebody else that passed away from fentanyl, but it wasn't a big thing like it is now where everybody is passing away from fentanyl. It wasn't like that. It was like one here, somebody over here.
Right.
It's a word that you hear, but it doesn't stick. It didn't stick with me. So I remember hearing about the word and talking about it and saying that, well, that's weird. What is this? You hear about crack cocaine, you hear about all these other things. So it's like a word that you heard, but you wouldn't think it'd affect you, right?
And isn't that amazing how every family, a lot of families that I've spoken to, that's their first intuition is to get your child on the floor, do CPR, and you're not even thinking drugs or anything like that. You're just thinking, I have to save my child. And
Yes,
here you and I are, we're doing the same thing now. We're like, hey, if your child goes down, it should be common sense now. Hit them with Narcan. And
right.
biggest thing, and I've spoken to so many parents, is the police will always say it sounds like one of these fentanyl things, and every parent's like, well, what do you mean fentanyl? What is this? What are you talking about?
And they weren't carrying Narcan at the time.
Yeah, and why
They
is
were.
society and law enforcement talking about that? I don't blame them. That's not their job. I mean, yes, it is maybe the news or somebody to talk about it, but it takes you and I now to go out there that hopefully if somebody 10 minutes from now has a
All
family,
first
they can go,
responders.
yeah. And it's just, it's sad that we jump into that natural reaction to save our child and we don't even know what's going on. And you just mentioned maybe he choked on something, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Just-
And so I was pushing and I rolled him over, just trying to figure out if I'm doing this right. And so I just thought CPR because I got to keep him alive um, until the ambulance comes and let them take over and let them do their magic, because there are these life saving people that we depend on. But when I heard that they couldn't keep him alive, I thought there's something wrong. He was perfect when I left. Um, there was nothing wrong with him. He was excited to get his hair done. He wanted his slides. And the last thing I thought that day was that something like this would happen.
yeah,
So I just signed off on the paperwork to do an autopsy, toxicology, the full gamut of tests so that we could know what happened. And come to find out that he died of carfentanil, which even in IV, it wasn't enough to save him.
yeah,
Carfentanil is 100 times more potent than fentanyl. And I
knocked
did
it out of
a lot of
work.
research. And it was only found in his urine. It's not something they will find in a test with fentanyl. It's found in the urine. And because I asked for a full toxicology, I wanted to know everything. They did the urinalysis, and that's where it showed up. And he had a lot of carfentanil in him, and Narcan and an IV, it wouldn't have been enough to save 600 people, 800 people. It, it was just a ginormous amount. And when I heard about that, it was actually the coroner, when they did the reporting, they called me and said, you might want to contact homicide because he's the first person that we've seen that died of this carfentanil. I had to have them spell it because I've never heard of it. And when I called homicide, they had not heard of it. They didn't know about it. And I said, it was explained to me that it's 100 times more potent than
Yeah.
fentanyl. And this was in 2021. And it came in a liquid form. This was put in a drink form where when he started watching cartoons, I guess he took a sip and it just touching his lips with all the stuff that was in it, um, it killed him. It killed him. Not immediately, but it killed him. It's like sitting on his lips and just, I could have died just by giving him CPR. But I didn't know, and I think God was watching out for me. It should have affected me, and it did not affect me.
I mean, you mentioned earlier, we've all said this a million times, and you said it earlier. We never thought this would happen to us, and you never expected that with Mario because we're not supposed to. We get that our grandparents die, somebody gets elderly, we get that they're going to pass away. It's expected. We're never supposed to bury our children. I mean, I get there's times that even my first son, or my youngest son, I knew there was a chance that he would pass away, so it wasn't traumatic. I knew that it happened. But then to lose both children that way in a traumatic situation, I can't even fathom what you're going through. And there's a lot of families that I've spoken to that have lost multiple people to fentanyl. And I won't even try and sympathize or empathize because I don't even know what to say. And
Right,
it's, but I know that speaking with you, I've spoken with you on the phone 100 times and we've got to be friends. And just what you're doing now is, you've still got three other boys. And, I'm sure I can't imagine what the siblings go through. I try and get the siblings to go out and speak, and it takes time. I never want to pressure anybody.
right,
Uh,
right.
it's,
They're just, the second to the oldest was there.
yeah,
And my middle child was at work, and I just told them all, meet me at Kaiser, um, so just so they could see him.
What are you doing now? Because I know that the first time I met you was on, I think, Sammy Chapman's video or his Zoom call. And I know you're doing stuff with Matt down in Southern California. So if you don't
Yes,
mind, just share what you're doing now and how you're actually helping people.
I
And
will.
yeah, because that's,
Um,
yeah.
so Merrick was always one that was trying to help somebody. Mom, I've got to take some canned food to my friends because they don't have any food. He would give away his last dollar to whoever needed money. And I got him to a good point where he wasn't just giving away money, because people were taking advantage. And one day he said to me, Mom, you're going to be so proud of me. And I said, why? Tell me why. And he said, because I didn't give away any money. I said, okay, but why are you telling me that? And he said, because you always told me not to give away money. So I gave this guy my wallet. And I said, Merrick, this is okay. Okay, I'm getting what you're saying, but why did you give him your wallet? And he said, the homeless person asked me the same thing. He asked me the same thing. And you know what I told him? You're going to need this wallet when somebody gives you money. You have to have somewhere to put it.
Oh
So
my God.
that was his logic and his higher thinking. And so his thing was to help people and to help people in school that were being picked on. He was always stepping up to help people that were being picked on. He knew what it was like, and so he would just get brave and just step in. And he was kind of a big kid, so people would step away, and he didn't realize that he was being very effective in helping people that were being bullied. So my whole feeling that overcame me was I need to talk about this. I need to tell everyone because people need to know about fentanyl and carfentanil. And I would always bring up carfentanil, and it was very rare. It just wasn't being talked about, and to find out it was rare. Um, and he was the only one that was autistic and conserved in California, that died of fentanyl, what they called the fentanyl category.
Yeah.
But he was one of the only ones that was autistic and conserved by the courts. And so I thought something needs to be said about this because this needs to be looked into. I got into his phone. I found out who it was that gave it to him. No doubt where it came from. And so while I was grieving, I was introduced to Matt Capilouto by Chris Didier. And he said, you might want to talk to Matt because, he talks about legislation and things that need to be changed. And my whole thing was I was trying to join different groups, but I wanted change. I wanted change because this was wrong. This was wrong. And for me, knowing who did this and there was no investigation, it was appalling to me.
Yeah.
I got, and I'm sorry, text message from the person, all that, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So legislation was it. Stop Drug Homicide does a lot. Matt has done a lot to go talk about this on the news circuits, Fox News, different news stations. I've seen him legislate here in Sacramento. I just started neck deep. I just said, I'm in it. I'm in it, and I believe legislation has to change. They need to start listening to parents who say they have evidence and actually investigate.
Yeah.
So, so that's the biggest thing. I mean, we have the Halt Fentanyl Act, which is wonderful. It is a tool that put any tool that we can have that puts more teeth into law enforcement to give them more ability to hold drug dealers accountable or peddlers of illegal drugs, illicit drugs. I'm for it. I'm for it. It needs to be done. But I do know that things that are done on a federal level doesn't affect our local
Right.
officers, and we still have to do stuff on the local level. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to bring these investigations to the forefront so that there can be prosecutions.
Yeah.
You can't prosecute what's not investigated.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. It's somebody said the other day, I heard a phrase, think global but act local. Something like
Yes,
that.
think
That makes
global but
sense.
act local.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I'm 10 minutes away from the state capitol. I went there. Angelique Ashby, Senator Angelique Ashby's office called me and wanted me to testify so that they can get xylazine on as a scheduled drug. It was unbelievable to me that it's not scheduled. I never thought about it, and I looked it up and I went, holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. I went there the next day after leg surgery. I had to do it. And I testified why it needs to be scheduled. This is an animal tranquilizer, just like carfentanil.
Yeah.
It is not for human consumption. This is how my son passed away. And with everybody putting their little piece from the equestrian that was saying, you know what, just a few drops in my hands is enough to kill everyone in this room. It really shocked everybody in the room.
Yeah.
The testimony about my son and carfentanil, it shocked everybody that this is even happening, and it passed. It's now a scheduled drug, but there's more that needs to be done with that. But we're just happy to do the baby steps to get to where we need to go. But we have to do it as a team.
Yeah.
There's no I in team. Did you know that?
I know that.
The
I've
old
learned
saying.
that. I went to school in Texas. I'm a little smart, but not that smart. So, but you said something and I've been asked by you and I have been doing this for 4+ years, it seems like now, both of us.
Yes.
And I've learned one thing that, and everybody's always asked, do we need better laws? Do we need more restrictions and all this kind of stuff? And I said, you can put the death penalty out there for this. Is it going to stop it? No. And some of the law enforcement people I know and everybody, and they always say the same thing. We can't prosecute our way out of this. We can't arrest our way out of this. The best thing that we need is we need you and we need me and the other hundreds of thousands of families out there. And
Because when everyone gets together, it's one
yeah,
big voice.
yeah. And the one thing you said is you talked about the 3 drops and you shared your story. That story I have seen has made a difference than more than a DEA agent standing on a stage or a U.S. attorney. They've bored me, to be honest. And sorry if you're listening to this, but I've told them that it's a boring slideshow. But when the families get up and share their personal story, that's when it hits home. And that's why I've always just said, I don't care if you get out and speak like I do every day or like you do every day. If you can just share your story with the neighbor 2 doors down who knows nothing about this, you might save a life. And I think that's the best thing that we can do. So I'll turn that to you. What would be the best advice you could give to somebody that has never done anything but has lost a child but wants to get involved? What would you say? I mean, that's my advice.
Education is key in slowing it down, because I know that when I've gone to schools and right when I start telling Marek's story, I could hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
And they want to know. And one of the things that I know as a mom, and we know our children do this. When they're at somebody else's house, they pay attention to other parents.
Yeah.
They're the child that we never knew we had.
Right.
They're this very considerate, very, my their friends, his mom would come to me and say, "Your kids are very well behaved. They have very good manners. They say please and thank you." And I was like, internally, I'm saying, "Are we talking about the same kid here?" But why I'm bringing that up is because in schools, they may not listen to their teachers, they may not listen to their principal, they may not listen to their parent. But when parents like us come in and tell a real, raw story, it will resonate with some.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do is if we can touch one life and change and save one life, we've done
Yep.
our job.
We've done our, exactly 100%. And the one thing I want to bring up, and I'll end with this, is you started your story with that you rode motorcycles. You wanted to be Evil Knievel. You mentioned that. I'm just kidding. But you let your kids go out there and ride, and you wanted them
Yeah.
to learn. You want our kids to learn from making maybe bad choices. Yes, one of them might have fallen down, broken an arm, but you get back up. That type of attitude is the way I take it from you.
Right.
But you want to teach them, and you want them to have fun. And I'm not saying it. You're actually an ideal family the way I look at it. You and your husband let your kids grow up, learn the hard way, teach them rules and all that. So when I hear of a lot of people saying the parents were bad parents and their kids died of fentanyl, screw you for that. You're the living example. I mean, you tried to do the best you could and you raised them right. You wanted them to learn from their mistakes. But the thing is now the mistakes or the bad choices can cost somebody their life. And it's not because of bad parenting. And that's
And I believe this. If a parent has a substance use disorder, that doesn't make them a bad parent.
right.
It makes them understand a little bit more about addiction. My kids smoked weed. We had rules, and our rules were you're not doing drugs in this house. If you get caught up into drugs, there's a consequence for that. We educated them as much as we could because no matter what anyone says, kids do not come with an instruction book. Children and raising children, there is no book on it. There's no perfect way. There's no perfect parent. There's no perfect kid. It just doesn't exist. So if someone says, well, my son was straight A's, athlete student, this and that and other, there's other things that we don't see. It's called peer pressure and friends that we're not around. When peer pressure happens, we don't see everything. Doesn't mean we're bad parents. It just means that we're not perfect. Kids aren't perfect. And even if a parent has a substance use disorder, it doesn't make them a bad parent. Not, oh, well, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Fentanyl is a different monster.
It's not out. Yeah.
When we were growing up, you could smoke weed, you could, try an experiment, you didn't die. It wasn't a death sentence. And in some cases, when I can't say in all circumstances, there are people that have died from alcohol poisoning
Sure.
and drugs. But it wasn't like it is now with fentanyl. Fentanyl is killing a lot of people, where it should be alarming to legislature, to the government, to the CDC. Everyone should be ringing alarm bells and really getting more involved than they are.
Yeah. Well,
Right now, there's a story.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Story that came out about somebody that died of carfentanil. It's hitting the streets now, and this was just like a month ago. And I'm thinking, I've been talking about this since 2021. Why are they just now learning about it? Is because more has to be said in an alarming urgency
Right.
to get it out there. When they found out about Marek, They should have sounded the alarm. I was doing it by myself. I was sounding the alarm about carfentanil. A lot of the news would ask me, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's 100 times more potent than fentanyl." But it was still a fentanyl story. See, the alarm bells weren't going off, and
Well, it doesn't sell to the media. First off, people that die of fentanyl from society is these are just drug addicts. They made that choice, so we don't need to talk about them. That's my opinion, and that's what I've run. I've ran across it with the
you're
waterfalls.
right on.
Yeah, I ran when I
You're
took your
right
child.
on it.
Yeah, on the waterfalls. I heard that a million times. All these drug addicts, and I'm like, oh really? Here's an 8 month old drug addict. Tell me that. I mean,
2 years old.
yeah. So
We're getting them younger and younger, and they can't say, now then they're blaming the parents. And in some cases, yeah, it was the parent, but we're running into a lot of different situations where it should be very alarming, very alarming.
well, you
And
keep
so,
up you keep up the fight, and I know we're both going to do it. And I wish we wouldn't have met this way, but I've enjoyed talking to you. And
I
that's
meet the my best my best acquaintances came out of this fight,
yeah,
this fight for justice, this fight for um, getting the awareness out there, being on the same page. That's critical.
yeah,
Being on the same page. We're all in this together. We all lost a child.
yeah,
There's no one parent that's better than the other. I don't care if,
100%.
and it has nothing to do with money. This is a fight for our children's justice. They cannot speak for themselves. They cannot cry out for justice. It's our job to make sure that that element and those words are out there for our children. And when I go out there, I make sure that people understand this isn't about me and
Yeah,
just my story. This is me and everyone else's story.
exactly.
I'm not the only one affected.
And one thing that people need to remember, and I've heard this, is maybe these people didn't care about their kids. And I respond to that with one last thing. Every parent I've met, and I've met hundreds, if not thousands of them now, these parents, like you, like me, and everybody else that I know, if we're out doing all this, speaking about our children, if we didn't love our kids, why are we out doing it? That's simple.
I
It's the most loving parents that I've ever met in my life.
When I realized that he was being taken advantage of, I immediately went to court. The judge recognized that he needed to be conserved. I did everything that I could, and it still affected him.
Yeah.
It still affected him. So, does that make me a bad parent? No, I did everything that I felt that I could possibly do for him,
Yeah.
to save him from sex trafficking and all the bad things that are out there that could happen, and it still happened. So, nobody's better than the next, and nobody's more naive than the next. Nobody's smarter than the next. It's just we need to get together and be one big voice so that they will hear us. If we are 10 over here, 20 over here, 25 over here, it's not as if there's like 1,000 right in front of the Capitol
Yeah.
or right in front of wherever we need to be to speak.
Yeah, God created us all individually, but we're all brothers and sisters. We're all the same people. He didn't say Mike's going to be
Absolutely.
better than anybody else, and you're not going to be worse than anybody else. We're all the same people. Well, thank you so
Absolutely.
much, and God bless you, and God bless you and your family. And I know we're going to talk soon, so we've got.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and y'all have a great evening.
You too. Thank you, Mike.
Bye.
and it's a 3-story mall that, hi Merrick, he's trying to hide. He wants a PS3, so he better not hide. He's trying to run. Anyway. I am.
No, she is.